Hey everyone, you know me as RonThomas, also Sensei RonThomas, and I played the role of Bobby Brown in the original Karate Kid. You're listening to Cobra Kai Kompanion, and here's what I want you to remember is I would have beaten that guy.
Welcome to another episode of Cobra Kai Kompanion, and I am Peter, also host of Podstalgic.
And I am Tom, also co-host of Jake and Tom Conquer the World.
And we are back with another interview, and wow, this was another fun one. You know, let's just say who it is. It's RonThomas, who played Bobby Brown from the original Karate Kid.
Yes, one of my personal favorite Cobras.
Yeah, I think he's kind of like, Aisha with the new class. I feel like Bobby Brown might have been, aside from Johnny Lawrence, but I think he was also a fan favorite.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, he does kind of mention that a little bit in the interview, but what a bunch of great stories he shared from the original movies. And I know there's a lot of content out there, but I'd imagine you'd have to have a lot of time to find certain stuff like that. So I'm enjoying hearing some of this stuff straight from the actors themselves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just absolutely fascinating. Definitely gives a whole new perspective on the movie as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is our conversation.
This is Ron.
Hey, Sensei Thomas, it's Peter.
Hey Peter, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing this afternoon?
Good.
Okay, great. So first off, we want to thank you for coming on to our little show here to discuss some Karate Kid. What we like to do on the show is try to find out some more backstory and some more behind the scenes, because I feel that's what our listeners like. Can you talk a little bit about the auditioning process for your role of Bobby Brown on The Karate Kid?
Sure, I can do that. It's taking me back, but I came to Hollywood to be a professional actor. Before I even came to Hollywood, I was already a black belt in sport jiu-jitsu, or Kodokan jiu-jitsu, I should say. I was a team trainer for the United States jiu-jitsu team after the Karate Kid. But I came to Hollywood as already a black belt, something I was doing in my hometown of Reno, Nevada, because I was small in stature, and I actually had my own very first Cobra Kai moment in Reno. I was a freshman in high school, and I weighed in at under 100 pounds, if you can believe that.
Oh, wow.
Just under 100 pounds and just under 5 feet. I was, that was my freshman year, and I weighed in with the junior varsity PE coach, and he said, "Go home and eat, son." So I was walking the halls of this large high school, my very first day, and I'm alone, and I'm looking down the hallway, and here come 4 guys, and it might as well have been Johnny, Bobby, Tommy, and Dutch headed straight at me. And as I'm passing them, one of them stepped out from the crowd and punched me straight in the face for no reason. I didn't know who these guys were. They did it for fun, and they were like Cobra guys. So
that's crazy.
So I got involved with the martial arts. But anyway, I came to Hollywood. I was a professional actor already. I was doing theater and everything, and pursuing my dreams as an actor. So I got this call for this movie called The Karate Kid, which at the time I thought was kind of a corny title for a movie. And I said, great. I told my manager, great. I'm a black belt. And he said, yes, you are, but don't talk about that. I said, what? The movie's called The Karate Kid. You don't want me to talk about my martial arts background? And they said, no. They're looking for serious actors. They're going to train you anyway. They're going to train you with this guy named Pat Johnson. And they want to know about your acting. They don't want to know about your martial arts, so don't talk about it. So that was a very strange mindset for me to head into this audition with, not, holding my tongue about my martial arts background. But I did what my manager asked, and I went in. I actually read for the part of Johnny originally.
Oh, that would have been a completely different movie.
Yeah, I think, Billy Zabka is a little bit taller than me. I think they wanted Johnny to be a little bit taller than the rest of the Cobras. There's a lot of detail like that goes into casting. But whatever reason, I got a call back to be, Johnny's wingman, so to speak, his best friend Bobby, and went in. And at that point, I think I was on my 3rd call back. Went over to Columbia Pictures, reading for John Avildsen. John Avildsen films everything. And he actually had me read with Ralph. And I just remember after I got to that point, I got so close on this thing. And I'm in reading for this legendary director who directed Rocky. And I'm like, wow, this is, a little bit intimidated. All the other actors were in the room too. Some famous young actors that, if I went through the list, you'd know their names, trying out for different roles. And I just remember John Avildsen, I'm face to face with Ralph Macchio. And for whatever reason, he got really close to me. I mean, he just put his face like within 6 inches of mine. And I'm staring at Ralph, and I'm trying not to break character. And that's, I think, what he was trying to do, is to see if I was going to break character and look at him. But, and then he just walked away. It was a surreal moment. And I just, I held my own. I didn't break character. And anyway, long story short, I got the part.
Yeah, that's amazing. I think as
or
fans,
maybe that was a long story.
well, it's a great story nonetheless. I think as fans, we always wonder, which actors actually had some prior background in martial arts. With your character of Bobby, I always kind of wondered because I really love your stance. It's kind of like wide-legged. Was that something natural to you? Was that something directed by Pat Johnson, perhaps?
No, Pat Johnson didn't know I was a martial artist until about 6 weeks into training, when he finally figured it out. And he walked over to me one day and he said, "You know something, don't you?" And I had to finally spill the beans on Pat. But the wide stance really comes from more of a jiu-jitsu based background, not a karate based, where jiu-jitsu is, the jiu-jitsu I come from is Japanese. I'm not Brazilian, but we do a lot of grappling on the ground, a lot of throwing, and a lot of stand-ups, punches and kicks, joint locks, everything. So jiu-jitsu being the mother martial art, every martial art came from jiu-jitsu. So the base, that low base, is something that came natural to me from jiu-jitsu, because you want to create a low base, because when you're grappling, people are trying to throw you. And the lower base, we used to call it an earth stance, where you're grabbing that ground. That base came from, it was just something I was used to, I can punch and kick from that space, but also not get thrown.
Yeah, I would definitely kind of encourage the listeners to kind of go back and watch some of those scenes, where you are kind of sparring with somebody. It's very, I don't know if unique's the right word, but it stands out in comparison to the other actresses, fighting stance. So I dig it. I think it's a great look on Bobby.
Yeah, and it came from those other fighters. If you're talking about the extras, like the extras in the fight scene, those were black belts that were brought in around the Los Angeles area to be extras and extra fighters. But they're doing point karate, which was the basis of the movie. But point karate, their center of gravity is up. When you're involved with a throwing art like judo or jiu-jitsu, you want to lower your center. So yeah, that's where that comes from.
Yeah. You mentioned that you read for the part of Johnny. What did you think about the character of Bobby, him being so different from, the rest of the Cobras, kind of being the one with, with an actual conscience and trying to break up fights when it gets a little out of hand?
As much as I would have liked to have a little more substance as an actor to get, you always want the bigger role. Bobby is one of is the character in the movie that has a huge fan base globally because of that, because he was the compassionate one, the one with those sense of consciousness and conscious and level-headed and kind of a guy that was mixed up in the wrong crowd. I think the heart and soul of Bobby is revealed at the beginning of the movie and also at the end. In the beginning, when we're on the motorcycles and Johnny says, in substance, not word for word, but something like, this is my senior year. I got one more year to make it right. And that's what I'm going to do, make it right. And he turns to Bobby and he says, "Right, man?" And I say, "That's right." And right there, I think that as an actor, and even as somebody observing the movie, Bobby, it was his idea to make their senior year right. I can envision a conversation between Johnny and Bobby about, hey, and Bobby initiating the idea that, "Johnny, man, we got one more year to make it right. Let's do this." And he convinces Johnny that it's going to be, that they're going to course correct, and they're going to be good guys. Let's make the, let's do this right this last year. And then of course Johnny goes off the deep end when Daniel starts flirting with Allie. So right there is, I think, a revelation in Bobby's heart and soul. But at the end, he didn't want to hurt anybody, and he didn't want to get disqualified, and he just wanted to win. He would have won. Not only do I think he wanted to win the tournament, I think he would have, in reality. And there's a scene that we shot that was written in the script, and we actually shot it, and we didn't. John Avildsen, for whatever reason, didn't use it in the movie, and that is when, after Bobby hurts Daniel's leg, he's really sorry, really remorseful. He stands up and he walks across the tournament floor toward Kreese, takes off his black belt, drops it at Kreese's feet, and walks out of the tournament. That's the heart and soul of Bobby. But that did not get used, unfortunately.
I believe that scene is actually mentioned in the novelization of The Karate Kid.
Yeah, it probably is. You can see it in the rehearsal videos that John Avildsen put online on YouTube.
I'm glad I wanted to ask about those. Yeah,
you can see it where I throw the belt at Kreese's feet in anger. I think when we shot it, I was more like just. If I remember right, I had tears in my eyes, and I just kind of, instead of throwing it so hard down in anger, I just kind of dropped it at his feet and walk out of the tournament.
See, that wasn't in the version I saw. I saw the one where somebody added the score, which I believe is a few minutes shorter than the one that John Avildsen posted himself, I believe.
Could be. I haven't, you could be right. I haven't watched all of them.
Sure.
Now, I was going to ask about those rehearsal videos. Can you maybe shed a little bit of light on that process? Because from what I understand, that's not the way that rehearsals generally go, is it?
No. John Avildsen is a very unique, underrated Hollywood director. The late John Avildsen, I should say. And he was an editor prior to being a director, so he understood where he wanted to make his cuts in a movie, and he pretty much filmed the whole movie in rehearsals before we filmed the movie. So he had, his storyboard was actually video, and even after we got done filming the movie, and in the years after, every time I would see John Avildsen at an event or something, he would always have a video camera in his hand. I mean, he lived for making movies and videos. And so he filmed it. He filmed the whole rehearsal process so that he would have something to look at, knowing he knew exactly what he was doing going into, the first day of live camera.
Can you talk a little bit about the scene where I don't know if it was actually soccer tryouts or soccer practice, but there's that moment where you and Ralph's character Daniel, I think there's a sweep of some sort or a leg kick, and then you guys start wrestling.
Yeah, that was written into the script, and we were on the soccer field, and Johnny signals to Bobby to take Daniel out, in essence, and so Bobby having fun doing what he does, trips Daniel in the soccer field, and then Daniel jumps on top of Bobby, and when we were shooting it, Ralph actually punched me in the face. He punched me. He bloodied my lip, actually. He hit me with his forearm. With the fist was supposed to go past my face, so it looked like a real punch. He jumps on top of me, but he actually hit me with his forearm and bloodied my lip, and we never broke character. And then when John says cut, the camera stopped rolling, the first thing Ralph did was beeline right for me. And I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, dude. I'm like, it's okay, Ralph. I've been hit harder. Trust me.
It seems like he was in character too, because he sucker punched Johnny on the beach.
Yeah, right. He's a bad guy, man. That Ralph.
That's what we hear.
Now, what do you think about all those fan rumors that say that Daniel was the actual bully, and that Johnny and the rest of the Cobra Kais were the true Karate Kids?
I think that's just some fans having fun, twisting the storyline around, and just trying to get attention online with all the social media. So that's all I take it. I laugh at that kind of stuff. I think it's fans having fun. The Karate Kid fan base is global, and it's unique.
Yeah, it's multi-generational too.
It is multi-generational. It's very, very unique when you compare it to most other movies. In fact, I really can't think of another movie that has the sort of fan base that we do, and the multi-generational impact that it's had. You've got parents and grandparents making their kids watch, and I get fan mail from kids. I get fan mail from little kids and saying that they love Bobby because he was the good guy out of all the bad guys.
Yeah, he really was. Now,
Yeah.
Martin Cove, we actually spoke with him, and he talked about how he was originally passed on, for that role, and ultimately got it. Was he not cast yet when you guys made that rehearsal video?
No, I think he was cast by that time. By the time we were shooting those rehearsal videos, Marty was cast.
I see, because Pat Johnson was playing the Kreese character.
Well, that's because Marty probably wasn't called in that day for rehearsal, or he was doing something else. There was a lot of stand-ins during the rehearsal process. He could have been in wardrobe fittings, or who knows.
What have your relationships been like with Mr. Zapka and Martin Cove and Mr. Macho after filming?
Well, I see Ralph from time to time at autograph signing events, and we did a little music video that Billy Zapka directed, but Ralph lives on the East Coast. I live in the West Coast, so it's been a little hard to see Ralph as much as Billy and Marty and Tony O'Dell. Tony O'Dell and Billy Zapka were at my wedding, and I was at Billy's wedding. We're very tight. We're very close friends all these years. Marty as well. They have Christmas parties at our houses, birthday parties. We hang out together. We're buddies.
Did you guys
all these years
ever get together and dress up in the skeleton costumes again?
No. Definitely not.
Would love to see that.
Now, you mentioned the video that William Zapka had directed, and one of the other things that at least some of you guys got together for again was an episode of Tosh.0. I was wondering how that came about and what the experience was like on that.
Oh, that was me and Marty Cove. We did an episode of Tosh.0. I don't know. I just got offered the role. Tosh.0 production called me up because some bonehead tried to break a board over his head and couldn't do it. Hurt himself, I think. So they used to take those videos, and so they called the guy in that posted that video online, and we did a Karate Kid spoof on that, with Marty and I. It's very funny, actually.
Oh yeah, it was great.
We had original lines from the original Karate Kid, but since Marty's like, here, use this board. He scored the board so it'd break easily over my head or whatever. And, here, use this board. I'm like, but Sensei, I can beat this guy. And it's a funny spoof. It was very fun to do.
Now, have you been able to catch the Cobra Kai TV show on YouTube Premium?
I have. I finally got around to it. I have a 4.5-year-old daughter. I tell you, boy, if I try to send an email, she wants my attention. So raising her is what I've been focused on for the last 4.5 years. So watching TV and intentionally going in and subscribing to something like YouTube Red and sitting down and finding the time to watch them when she's not around has been a challenge. But I finally got through all 10 episodes.
What are your thoughts on the new Cobras, having been a character who was pretty gray himself?
They're a great cast of young actors. I really enjoyed, they're talented. I really enjoyed the characters that the actors that they cast I thought were very, very good.
Now, I did see something online, and I'm not sure if you've seen it, but it's been circulating quite a bit. It's a black and white photo of you and the other Cobras with Pat Morita in the middle, making a silly face. I think he's sticking out his tongue. Do you remember that photo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What was that about?
We were just having an ice ice cream break on the set, and we just gathered around. We had a still photographer. Jerry Weintraub hired a still photographer to snap thousands and thousands and thousands of photos. So it was just one of those times where the still photographer was around, we were around, and he said, "Hey guys, can I grab a photo of you?" And so we were on ice. We all had popsicles in our hands or whatever, and we just, Pat Morita, being the amazing, funny guy that he was, we called him Uncle Pat. He just making silly faces, having fun.
Yeah. Also, being part of the Karate Kid, obviously it's a classic movie. What has it been like? As you mentioned, you've attended some of the cons. Do you have any crazy stories with fans or anything like that?
I have mostly really good experiences with fans. I had one crazy dude years and years ago want to fight me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know. He was just a nut. But I have had nothing but positive, well, almost nothing but positive experiences with the fans and the fan base, and parents wanting their kids to meet me and sign autographs and people telling me about how the Karate Kid changed their lives. And mostly because the Karate Kid initiated them into martial arts, got them started in martial arts. And, I'm a martial artist, and I know for a fact that the martial arts world changes lives for the better. It's gotten people off of drugs and people who were close to suicide. And, I know personal stories about people getting involved with the martial arts and having it change their lives. So the Karate Kid initiated so many people worldwide, to get into the martial arts, and it's changed their lives for the better, for sure. And even if it wasn't through the martial arts, it was some of the lessons that came out of the Karate Kid and the inspiring Mr. Miyagi type lessons and people overcoming bullying and that type of thing. It's just been an amazing experience interacting with the fan base, and it's been a sort of a surreal and amazing and honor. I'm very honored to be a part of the cast of the Karate Kid, the original film that has left such a legacy and an impact. Because, like I said, most films don't do that.
It's very, very rare, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very, very rare. And it's very, very few films that people sit down and watch over and over and over and over again. You probably name them on one hand.
Yeah. Now, you had mentioned John Avildsen a couple times. A few years ago, you were involved in a documentary about him called The King of the Underdogs. What can you tell us about that experience? And do you have any stories about Mr. Avildsen that might be interesting?
Oh, yeah. I was at his memorial not too long ago, and it was a sad day to see such a legend, leave Hollywood. Hollywood's loss, and like I said, I think he's a very underrated director because he gave us some good stuff. If you know his credits and you know his background, he gave us some good films. I was honored to be a part of the documentary and talk about John. The story, I've got several stories about John Avildsen. I think one of the ones I love the best is that you never know. We didn't know we were making an iconic film that was going to last 35 years later. We're doing a television series with the original cast members. We didn't know that. We didn't know there was going to be such thing as streaming video. This is just so surreal to live it. But we just, we hoped we were making a good movie. And so I and my fellow Cobra Kai brothers and John Avildsen, and I don't think Ralph was with us that day. I don't remember. But we went to Westwood to watch opening night in Los Angeles. I think it may have been the pre-opening. I can't remember. But whatever it was, the theater was full. This was the first time of us watching the movie with fans, with people, with the public. And the theater was full. And I was sitting next to John Avildsen. And we're watching the movie, and it's getting great crowd reactions. And John was looking for the crowd reactions, to see how it was playing with the public. And at the very end of the movie, when Ralph snap kicks Johnny in the face, Billy, Daniel, when Daniel hits Johnny in the face with the crane kick, the crowd cheered. But there was a guy way down. We were sitting in the back, and there was a guy way down in front who jumped up on the seats and threw his hands in victory, and you could see his silhouette on the screen. He was jumping up and down on top of the seats. And John Avildsen leaned over to me and he says, "We got a hit."
Oh, that is such a cool story. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, God, coming out of your mouth, I'll take your word for that one.
Yeah. It gave me chills. I know we're kind of running out of time with you here. You mentioned some of the experiences you've met with fans and just other people. Now, I understand you're a life coach and also a motivational speaker. Can you talk a little bit about your book? Because I love the title of your book.
Well, which one? Positive Thinking is for Sissies?
Yes.
Yeah, my life kind of parallels Bobby in a way. Because I envision Bobby, with this whole Cobra Kai series, it made me think, where's Bobby now? What's Bobby up to? And I've got some interesting storylines I could run by the producers for sure, based off of the whole thing I told you about Bobby's heart and soul. When he drops the belt at Kreese's feet, he actually, in essence, leaves the Cobra Kai.
And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, they could easily edit that back into the series, that missing scene.
Well, except I was out in the parking lot at the end when Miyagi honks Kreese's nose.
Yeah.
So,
the second
and they wanted me there. Yeah, that's part of the reason why they didn't use it, because they wanted me there because that was the original ending of the movie, and we ran out of time. It was New Year's Eve. It's a long story. So we came back in part 2 and used that. There was my understanding is there was a whole screenplay written, or an idea, a treatment written for a screenplay for the sequel, where I come back as Daniel's friend, because he in essence left the Cobra Kai. But I want to make it right. We're gonna do this thing. We're gonna make it right. And then Bobby, in essence, using that scene, makes it right. He apologizes to Daniel and he drops his belt at Kreese's feet and walks out. So, where is Bobby nowadays? He makes it right, and he's giving back. And so my life as an actor, well, not as an actor, more as a motivational speaker and life coach, etc., and some of these self-help books that I have written and am writing right now. Positive Thinking is for Sissies being one, is a way of, it's kind of Bobby, helping people make their lives right. And I really enjoy that. One of the things I enjoy most about The Karate Kid is how it's changed lives. Acting is acting, and I'm passionate about it. I love creating characters and acting. I always have. But, how much impact can an actor have on people's lives? They have a platform, but can they really change people's lives? So that's why motivational speaking is intended for that, and writing those types of books. Positive Thinking is for Sissies is, in essence, I'm not saying positive thinking is a bad thing. I'm saying it's fine. I think we should all think positive. But if your strategy for winning in life and changing your life is to think positive, then you're a sissy. Because mastering yourself, which is what the martial arts requires you to do, is for warriors. And that requires looking in the mirror. And that requires acknowledging some things about yourself that you might not like. And that it requires you owning those things and mastering those things, because until you do, they're mastering you. So Positive Thinking is for Sissies is really about self-mastery. And I think all of my content in my speaking and my books, and even teaching martial arts, I owned my own schools in Los Angeles, was about self-mastery, really. And that's what the whole martial arts is all about. So that's how I sort of parallel my real life with the whole Karate Kid theme and the character of Bobby himself.
Now, your book, it does have its own website, which I will include the link in our show notes for the listeners that are interested. But where else can they find your book if they want to visit a store or another website or something?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. you can go to my website, senseironthomas.com, and I think it links you over to Positive Thinking is for Sissies. And there's another book that I'm writing right now. I can't tell you the title, but I can tell you that it's a play off of the Karate Kid. So Karate Kid fans, once I release this book, are really going to enjoy the book I'm writing right now. It's a little slow in coming. Like I said, I have a 4.5-year-old daughter, and I've been writing it for a while, but I've committed to finishing it, at least the initial draft of it, by the end of the year. And Karate Kid fans will really love it.
Great. Perhaps that when it comes out, perhaps we can have you back on to talk a little bit more about it.
Absolutely, for sure.
Yeah.
People can follow me on Facebook, Sensei RonThomas, Facebook.com/Sensei RonThomas. If you don't know how to spell sensei, it's Sensei. A lot of people don't. And Facebook, Twitter, SenseiRonThomas.com. Just stay in touch with me. I recently started doing Instagram more and more. My wife's sort of helping me figure out how to do it.
I'm so glad I'm not the only one who can't really understand that.
But it's the platform. It is the new thing. So people can follow me and stay in touch. And I'll definitely be announcing when that book is out.
And that concludes our conversation with one Sensei RonThomas. So I hope you guys had a good time listening to it, as much as, a good time we had speaking with him.
Yeah. At the beginning of the episode, you mentioned all the great stories that we're getting straight from the actors. I think the story of the premiere and the audience reaction as it was being played literally for the first time in front of an audience, that has got to at least be in my top 5 or 3 stories I've heard from the production of any of these movies or television shows.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was a really good one. And, as I mentioned during the interview, it gave me chills just hearing that, because I was imagining it play in my head. His words were very descriptive. I mean, he's a great speaker, right? He's a motivational speaker, so he's great with words. Unfortunately, we ran a little bit out of time, because clearly there could have been a lot more we could have asked him, but,
Oh, yeah, just a fascinating, the only way I can put it is well put together, but mentally, emotionally, he seems like he's very grounded, and he's living a hell of a life from the sounds of it.
Yeah, it really does. And I think it's really cool that he had a background in martial arts already. I believe he was already a black belt. I wish I could have asked a little bit more about that, because, he did share that story, with Pat Morita, kind of not exactly photo bombing, but that picture we were talking about. I wanted to ask how much time he spent around Pat Morita, because I'm kind of curious, because as I understand it, I think the actors that played the Cobras kind of were kept separate, from like Ralph Macchio and Pat Morita. So I want to ask, to kind of get the real story behind that, and whether that's true or not.
Yeah, because as great a character as Mr. Miyagi is, and as great a performance as Pat Morita gave to that character, people kind of forget just how funny Pat Morita was in other work. The guy was just a great comic genius with wonderful timing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've heard from like all types of Breaking Bad podcasts where comedians, they have such great timing. That's why they make for great dramatic actors as well.
Yeah.
So that wraps up this episode. I say it every episode. I want to thank you guys for your continued support. Without you guys and your interactions, we don't know how much further we could have been doing this. Maybe, we would have just done like episode reviews, and then you wouldn't have seen us, until season 2. But we are always looking for content to, make for you guys. We also did like a first look on the Miyagi-Do episode. That's getting some really good feedback. People are really enjoying that episode. So we have a lot of different content. We've interviewed, 15, 16 cast members from the Karate Kid universe, including Cobra Kai. So if you haven't checked out any of those episodes, if you're a new listener, go back and check those out. We, spoke with Martin Cove, Sean Kanan, a lot of great actors.
Yeah. And as far as our, it's weird saying this, our community of listeners goes, give us ideas as far as what you want covered. If you have like show topics that you want to suggest, definitely throw us a line over on our Facebook group.
Yeah, absolutely. And that Facebook group is very active. We have a lot of fun. People are creating like threads and discussion topics themselves, and we're having a blast in there. But you can find us in the in the Book of Faces. It's www period Cobra Kai period TV A and B group. You spell out the words period. And also, you can find us on the other social media platforms. We talked about Instagram with Sensei RonThomas. Our Instagram account is at Cobra Kai Podcast, and you can also find us on Twitter at Cobra Kai Pod. Tom, where can they find you if not other Cobra Kai stuff?
As far as Facebook is concerned, I've got a group page for my show. It's called Jake and Tom Conquer the Group. Beyond that, on Twitter, you can find me at The Drunken Dork, and you can listen to me most weeks on a little goofy show called Jake and Tom Conquer the World.
And for me, I mentioned I host another show called Podstalgic. It's a retro movie review podcast where Tom has joined me for all 4 of the Karate Kid movies, which is actually on the Cobra Kai Kompanion feed as well. But, you know, Tom's been on for like Better Off Dead and the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. So he's been on quite a bit, obviously. And,
yeah. And it's like at least once a month, it seems like I throw you an idea as far as other episodes.
Yeah, and we keep pushing it back because of all the Cobra Kai stuff we're doing.
Oh, yeah.
But we're having a good time doing that stuff. But yeah, check us out. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Podstalgic. So thank you guys for checking out this episode. Please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music. Leave us a review, a rating if you really enjoy our show. Help us get out there a little bit more. It'll put us a little bit higher in the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if we're good enough for John Hurwitz to acknowledge us, I'm pretty sure we at least deserve a quick click on the 5-star rating system.
Yes, and thank you for that little reminder, Tom. For those that are maybe tuning in for the first time, if you are interested, some of our more popular episodes were some of the panels both you and I, Tom, have attended, the Rose City Comic Con and the Motor City Comic Con. Both of ours had panels with Billy Zabka. Mine had Ralph Macchio and Martin Cove in it, but also John Hurwitz. He does Q&As on Twitter, and we've done reaction episodes to that called Cobra Kai News. And I believe by the time this come out, we probably already have 4. So check them out. They're a lot of fun, and there are questions being asked by the viewers and listeners, and being answered by John Hurwitz himself.
Yeah. So I think that pretty much wraps it up. Unless there's anything else you wanted to touch base on.
Yeah, I got one little nugget here. I want to give a shout out to my boss for allowing me to record at work. So shout out to him, Mr. Jeff W. So I think that's gonna do it. So thanks again, everybody, for checking out our podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks, Jeff.